peace between Afghanistan and Pakistan remains as elusive as ever. The latest round of peace talks in Istanbul, aimed at reinforcing a fragile ceasefire and easing border tensions, has collapsed without agreement. Despite mediation by Turkey and Qatar, both sides walked away blaming each other, with Pakistan accusing Afghanistan of harboring militants and Kabul insisting its sovereignty is being violated by cross-border attacks. In this Indian Express Explained, we tell you why the Istanbul talks failed, what's behind the mistrust, and what this breakdown means for the region's security and civilians on both sides of the border. The Istanbul negotiations followed weeks of deadly clashes along the Afghanistan-Pakistan frontier in October. The violence began after explosions in Kabul on October 9th, which Afghan authorities blamed on Pakistani drone strikes, a claim Islamabad denied. As cross-border attacks escalated, Qatar stepped in to mediate, leading to a temporary ceasefire signed on October 19th by Afghan Defense Minister Mullah Muhammad Yaqub and his Pakistani counterpart Khawaja Asif. That ceasefire reduced immediate fighting, but mistrust lingered. Sporadic shelling continued even as both sides prepared to meet again, this time in Istanbul, for what was hoped to be a breakthrough. The Istanbul meeting was the third round of negotiations since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, and by far the most ambitious. But optimism quickly faded. Delegates clashed over Pakistan's demand that Kabul act decisively against the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, accused of launching attacks from Afghan soil. Afghanistan spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid said Pakistan's demands were unreasonable, adding, "We do not want insecurity in the region, but if war breaks out, we have the right to defend ourselves." Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif, speaking to Geo News, confirmed the talks had ended without any progress, saying, "They said they would respect a verbal agreement, but there is no room for that." Mediators from Turkey and Qatar tried to bridge differences, but the key sticking point remained. Afghanistan refused to sign a written accord, leaving what Asif called a complete deadlock. At the heart of the dispute lies Pakistan's claim that the TTP operates freely from Afghan territory, something the Taliban firmly denies. Pakistan insists that Kabul must clamp down on militant sanctuaries. But Afghan officials argue that Islamabad's security problems are domestic and that drone strikes and border shelling violate their sovereignty. Zabihullah Mujahid reiterated that Afghanistan will not allow anyone to use its territory against another country, but also maintained that the TTP's existence predates the Taliban takeover of 2021. Pakistan remains unconvinced. Its forces have continued airstrikes along the border and security operations inside its territory. Actions Afghanistan claims have harmed civilians. Although the Doha ceasefire has not been formally broken, the closure of key border crossings since October 12th has disrupted trade and daily life. Only limited crossings have been allowed for stranded Afghans to return home. Hundreds of cargo trucks remain stuck, deepening the economic crisis on both sides. At the same time, Pakistan has intensified its campaign against undocumented migrants, most of them Afghan nationals. Since 2023, more than 1 million Afghans have been repatriated, a policy that has worsened humanitarian conditions in an already fragile Afghan economy. For now, contact between the two nations is limited to monitoring the ceasefire, with no fourth round of talks scheduled. Mediators Turkey and Qatar, who invested significant diplomatic effort, have expressed quiet disappointment. Pakistani Minister Khawaja Asif said, "Our return empty-handed shows that even they have given up on Kabul." Afghanistan, on the other hand, says Pakistan's rigid stance blocked progress. Both sides continue to trade accusations as sporadic border clashes persist. As tensions simmer, the real cost is being borne by border communities, civilians caught in the crossfire of two governments unable to agree on peace. The collapse of the Afghanistan-Pakistan talks underscores how fragile the regional balance remains, and how easily local conflicts can spiral into larger instability. For more in-depth explainers and analysis, Subscribe to the Indian Express on YouTube, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for regular updates.